name is Charles Raffaele, and I'm a graduate student in the PhD program in Educational Psychology at the Graduate Center, City University of New York. And today I have the privilege of interviewing Dr. Maria DiBenedetto of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I'd like to thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
And first, I'd like to ask you if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your research.
Sure. I was also a student at the Grad Center. I had studied under Dr. Zimmerman, and my research has been in self-regulated learning. I started off doing research using the microanalysis, and that research has evolved over time, and a lot of my writing has been on motivation. I'm in the process of editing a book, which will be out in July, which is on the applications of self-regulated learning and performance across high school content areas. And I'm really excited about that.
Great. And I'm aware that you work in high school as well.
Uh-huh.
Could you introduce some of your studies of that as well?
Yeah, I work in a Catholic preparatory high school in North Carolina, in addition to teaching at UNCG in the evening. And it's really, I've worked for many years in college administration as well as teaching as an adjunct, and so this was a bit of a career change for me to go into high school teaching, and it has really been a great experience. It's given me the opportunity to apply the research that I've studied and written about over time, to actually use it with kids and to help foster more of a love of learning and self-directedness in students, so that they'll be able to hopefully take the skills that they get from my classes and apply it to other classes as well as later in life.
And next I'd like to ask you if you could describe a little further your program of research.
Sure. I have conducted some research. Well, in terms of the microanalytic approach, I was under Dr. Zimmerman. That was basically initially my first, the dissertation. I had published an article with him before that, but that was my first line of research in terms of self-regulated learning. And what I had done is tested the three phases, the forethought, performance, and self-reflection phase. I was the first one actually to use a microanalytic approach to assess those three phases in an academic context. Prior to that, it had been tested, this three-phase theory had been tested in athletic tasks, like Tim Cleary and Anastasia Katsantzis, right? So I was the first one to actually do it. We did it in science learning, and compared students that were at risk, students that were average science students, and students that were in advanced placement courses or honors courses, high school juniors primarily. And what we found were that kids that, that were, there was a huge difference in terms of how kids studied, prepared for skills, for a test, how they engaged in the processes of self-regulated learning in the three phases. So that was the first thing. And then I've done some other research on testing the construct and predictive validity of the microanalysis. I've done some research on science learning, self-efficacy, for example, how it changes over a period of time for students. On the college level, I've done research on graduate students, and more recently, most of my writing's been focused on motivation. I've done a lot of work with Dr. Shunk on student motivation and learning across various levels. And for example, we just attended the Big Theories session this morning, which was focused on student motivation using the socio-cultural lens, and how different race, ethnicity, gender, age, all those things contribute to students' views of their capabilities to learn and perform. Is that okay? Is that enough?
And next I'd like to ask you, as department chair of your high school science department, how do you help other teachers in your department incorporate self-regulated learning principles in their classes?
Sure. One of the things that I've done is we have monthly faculty meetings with the science faculty, and the many teachers, and that's basically what this book that I'm editing is showing, many teachers use self-regulated learning processes in their classroom, but they don't call it that. They don't use words like self-efficacy or intrinsic interest and mastery learning, things like that. So what I've done in my school is at these monthly meetings, each of us, we rotate, bring in 2 articles a month. So we're not all bringing them in at once, but we're each bringing in 2 articles. And those articles are focused on student learning. And at the meeting, we each have read it's almost like homework, we each have read the articles before we meet, and we discuss them. And we discuss them in terms of best practices and how we can implement what we've read in the classrooms. And usually those articles are focused on things like I mentioned, like intrinsic interest, how do you build self-efficacy. It's helped the faculty in the department become more familiar with educational psychology terminology. And in that way, it's helped them incorporate and try these different things in their classroom. So what we've done is we've taken a very hands-on practical approach by taking many of the theories, reading these articles, discussing them, and then we brainstorm as a group in which ways we can apply some of these different processes with our students.
And finally, I'd like to ask you if you could give 3 tips to graduate students currently working on a doctoral degree.
Okay. My first tip or suggestion would be is that you need to be self-regulated, right? You need to, engage in the processes of forethought, planning, be strategic. You need to set goals for yourself, short-term goals. That was something that I really did very closely as a grad student with Dr. Zimmerman. I would meet with him pretty often, and this was self-initiated. It wasn't something that he asked me to do. And I think that was really important because it helped sustain my motivation and my interest by knowing that I had to meet with him and report on what I had done so far. So I would really recommend doing that. I know that some students did not meet with their mentors that often, and I know that for many people, they end up falling through the loop by doing that, or it takes them longer to complete their degree and so on. So I really think that for me, that gave me a push, and I would recommend that. The second thing I would say, it's very important to network, to attend like this conference. When I had started as a doc student attending this conference, I was just like in awe of all the people that, have done, all the writing that I was studying in school. And it's really, even if you don't actually meet with them, you'll meet other people, other students, and it's just an opportunity to network and see what you've studied come alive, actually. And then the third thing I would say is don't be afraid to take different kinds of jobs. Like a lot of people that I went to school with have taken a variety of different jobs. It's very hard and competitive to get a faculty position. So you may work in assessment, you might work in administration, there's all different opportunities once you have a doctorate degree. Some of my close friends one is a provost of a university, another one is head of a private school. I'm in teaching. I teach both high school. Even though I'm in high school, I teach as an adjunct. It also hasn't stopped me in my writing. I think it's made me a better scholar because I'm actually working with the kids every day. And so the stuff that people are doing research on, I can actually test it in my classroom and see whether or not it's really working or not. So I would say just don't be closed-minded about what opportunities there are and what you might be doing when you finish to keep the doors open.
And so now I'd like to thank you for your time today.
Sure. Okay.
Your answers were very insightful, and I know that we'll all gain a lot from them. And I'd like to wish you best wishes in your upcoming work.
Oh, thanks. You too. Good luck.